I get some very interesting questions from time to time from the listeners and people that watch on YouTube. And one of the questions I had recently was from somebody who is about a couple of years into their stroke recovery. And the question was something along the lines of, how soon am I going to recover from my stroke? And how long should I expect my recovery to take? Well, it's a very interesting and difficult question. And the reason why it's interesting is because there isn't an answer that I can give that is the same and applicable to everybody who's experienced a stroke, because every stroke is different. Not only is every stroke different, every person is different. And as a result, we all have different needs and requirements, and we judge how we got to recovered or feeling healed very, very differently. Now, this person that I was speaking to over the weekend had set themselves a deadline of, I'm going to be back on my feet and fully recovered within 12 months. And unfortunately, she hasn't reached that milestone in the sense of being fully recovered, but she has got to the point where she's better than she was in the first 12 months. The challenge is sometimes she reflects on her life before stroke, and she's constantly wondering whether or not she's going to get back to that version of her life which led to the stroke. Now, that's something interesting for me, because in order to help somebody get back to being recovered, one thing that I wouldn't want to do is encourage them to get back to the life that they were leading before the stroke, because it could be argued that that particular life was the one that got them sick and led to the stroke after all. So what I would rather is people work towards healing and recovering and being better, way better off after they've experienced a stroke, and they've put the work in and the time and the learning and the implementation to actually recover and heal and be better in their health than ever before. Now, when I say that, let me qualify that, because you can't just be better in your health than ever before if you've had a stroke and you have deficits where you're limping and you've got eye problems, or you've got hearing problems, or you've got motor neuron problems. So I suppose you can still be healthier than ever before, and you can always be working on recovering and healing from the deficits, like the limp or the hand not working properly or the speech not being there yet. But I'm not sure whether or not it's wise to encourage people to get back to the life that they were leading before the stroke. If I was to do that, then what that means for me is that I was smoking, I was drinking, I was working excessively, I was highly stressed, I wasn't looking after myself, I was doing way too many hours at work, and that's really not a lifestyle that I want to get back to so that I can feel like everything's normal again. This is a new normal for me, and some of the things that I experience are numbness in my left side, which means that my muscles get tense and tight, which means that I'm constantly in a little bit of pain. The more I get tired during the day, the more the pain kicks in and more the numbness kicks in, and then therefore my balance is affected. I get a little bit crankier and I'm a little bit shorter in my temper, and I find it harder to get things done, and I have to rest more. So I'm learning to readjust with myself, because I don't really want to go back to what I was doing 3 years ago. This week was the 3rd year anniversary after my surgery that led to the numbness in my left side, but ultimately removed the faulty blood vessel out of my head and gave me an opportunity to stop the bleeding. My brain had bled 3 times, and the doctors and surgeons decided that it was no longer worthwhile me waiting around for surgery while my blood vessel in my brain continued to bleed, causing all sorts of different deficits like memory loss and not knowing my name and not knowing who I was, and all the really difficult things that cause people trauma during a stroke episode. So my advice to you, if you're going through a bit of a tough time and you want to know how long it's going to take to recover from your stroke, is let's not put a timeline on it, because we don't want to create an environment where we're putting timelines on things and we're getting ourselves frustrated and upset about not having reached a particular timeline or a deadline, for lack of a better word. But what would be probably more beneficial is if you were able to have somebody record your recovery. So get them to get their smartphone out and record you, say once a week or once a fortnight, to show you how far you've progressed in the last 6 months, 6 days, 6 hours, whatever it is for you that's important, so that you can look back and truly know how far you've come and not feel like you're not getting anywhere constantly. Now, my friend Claire, who asked me that question, experienced something else that kind of had her recovery set back a little bit. And for her, it was a broken leg or a fractured leg. That fractured leg really upset her and gave her a little bit of a difficult time coming to terms with the break, rather than getting on with allowing the leg to heal and getting back to the recovery from her stroke. Her stroke meant that she needed physio and a whole bunch of other things, and she was doing quite well, and she started to get her independence back. So you can see why a break in her leg might have given her a little bit of a setback and made her feel challenged and made her feel a little bit sad about the situation that she had once again found herself in, which was not being able to be mobile again and trying to find a way to heal. Stroke does throw many things at people, and sometimes it's okay to feel down and feel disappointed with where you're at and with a setback that's occurred. My advice to you, like Claire did, is to reach out to somebody and have a chat and get it off your chest. Whether that's leaving a comment on a blog post, whether that's leaving a comment at the bottom of this video, whether that's reaching out to somebody that you know in your own community or in another community, and just sharing how you're feeling. I really do encourage you talking about what's going on for you as often as possible. I also encourage people to go through the process of seeking professional help, whether it be from a psychologist or somebody who is a very highly qualified, highly skilled life coach, so that they can support you and advise you with different ways that you perhaps can overcome some of the negative thinking that goes on after stroke. What this will also do is it'll help you potentially overcome or avoid challenges like depression, which occurs to 33% of the stroke population after a stroke. So it's something that I did, and it really helped me come to terms with what had happened, come to terms with the fact that I needed to do a recovery and continue recovering. And it also helped me come to terms with how my life has changed. And I spent less time focusing on what I couldn't do and more time focusing on what I could do. I hope this little video has helped you understand that stroke is not something that occurs and often goes away. It often requires a change in lifestyle, and we need to take responsibility for our own recovery after we've left the hospital and after the doctors have given us the supposed all clear. The work really starts when you do go at home.